Hey guys, it's Nicholas here from upgrade2life.com. And as you can see, there is an amazing guest patiently waiting to also talk about some amazing topics. I have a guest with me today, an interview guest, and we want to talk about topics such as mental health and manifesting, self worth, coming from abundance instead of lack, fears, triggers, how Neville's teachings can change your life. So we came up with many different topics. We will see spontaneously how much of them we can cover in this call. If we see that it gets too long, then we maybe even do a second part. It's all spontaneous. So let us just dive right in. And I would first of all give the word to my interview guest. And yeah, maybe you can say hi to the audience.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm happy to be here to share all these things with you guys, how my life has changed, how Neville basically changed my life. So happy to be here.
Yes, really cool. And so that you guys are first of all not confused, the person that I'm talking to is called V. So the person wants to be anonymous. That's why we doesn't share her full name. And the first thing that we should maybe quickly touch base on is since how long you are following Neville's teachings and when you discovered me and how long you have been in my program. Maybe you would like to share that first.
Yeah. In regards to how long it's been with Neville, it's been around, if I remember the date exactly, it was I think May 2021. So since
Yeah.
since there. So it's been a while, right? But of course, everybody, all of us, I think when we start out, we don't know what this is about and we get really confused and we're thinking like this is too good to be true, like seriously, like I can manifest my dreams, yeah, get out of here, but of course, so I kind of like played around with it all that time, but I wasn't having really very much results with it. And then I found your channel in
Mhm.
around February 2022. So last year, basically.
Yes.
And after that, I decided to join your program in March 2022. So,
Yes.
I watched your YouTube for about a month, trying to really understand because I really like that you present everything like very organized. That was like super important to me
Mhm.
because it's like there's so much information out there that it's just like really appreciated when you can like go somewhere and see everything very organized, very clean, very, you can focus. So that's something I really liked about your channel. It just helped me focus, helped me gather my thoughts like, okay, this is this works like this. And then of course in the program even better. So yeah, that's been kind of like the time frame for me.
Yes. All right. Perfect. Thanks. Thanks for sharing that. And it's been super interesting to also, from my perspective, see your journey from my point of view, from like the outside on everything you went through, where you stand right now, which is, from my opinion, really calm, really stable, really peaceful, really consciously utilizing those principles in your life, which is a point that we come back to later. Now, before we started to press the record button and do this interview right now, me and V, we talked about some topics, which is brainstormed on what could be relevant to share with the community. And there, all topics are already out there, as V just said. How to manifest this, how to do this. It's all already basically out there. But there is also some more underlying things, some subtle things, some things that you only notice as deeper you go in this rabbit hole, into this journey. And one key word that you mentioned, V, is mental health, right? Mental health, self-worth. Maybe we can put this into one. So I would be really interested to hear your perspectives on that, like mental health, like why do you think this is important to cover? Why do you think this is important to touch base on and not ignore? What would you say about this topic?
Okay, well, of course, there's like a lot of things to say about
Yeah.
that, but like I feel it's a very important topic because the nature of these teachings is based on something like believing that we can what we cannot see, right? So I feel like coming from that kind of perspective, it's really good if you have a stable base. What I mean by that is, like, for example, there are many of us who, yes, we want to manifest objects, let's say like a car, better, like maybe money or a house or something like that. But there are also some of us, this was the case for me, that we are like struggling with anxiety, depression, triggering things, trauma, and all those things. Like, it's really important to realize that a big part of these teachings actually is not only to like get stuff, you know what I mean? It's not only about that. It's not only like, oh, this magical imagination thing and I'm going to use it and something like that. It's not only that. It's also a big part of it is about the relationship you have to yourself, believe it or not, because things come from the self. So if we like, the more we pay attention to how we're treating ourselves, the relationship to ourselves, the better it is for basically everything in this life, not just manifesting. So, first of all, I would say that. And also because there are many things, of course, in this community that not everyone gets. I don't want to say right, but it's like it can become real tricky real fast. Like, especially because we're all in this individual journey and everybody's going to have something that works for them, right? But that's not going to be the case for everyone. So trying to like fit into something that someone did and you feel you need to do this because someone else did it, that may not be true for yourself. And like forcing something, not really like sitting down with yourself and telling yourself like, is this something that is working for me? Am I like, do I feel good about this? Am I like feeling better about my anxieties, feeling better about my depression? Is this like, helping me move through those things? Being very considerate to ourselves, very honest, like that's such a big part of this, because not only will that help you like manifest everything you want, and also manifest like in an effortless way as well. Because think about if you're coming from a sense of self that where you love yourself, where you have self-worth, where you have confidence, less anxiety, less depression, all of that. um think about how life can be for you, right? It can be more effortless. You relate to others better, you manifest better, you reach your goals better. So it's like, and it's not about only reaching goals. It's like I said, I feel like the biggest thing, all of this is like the relationship we have to ourselves, and always being considerate and loving towards ourselves, like not trying to force a technique onto us just because someone else did it, or just because someone else said I have to do this or else. Like, that's like, remember, if we wouldn't talk like that to a friend, we shouldn't be talking like that to us. So it's so important to consider like where we are mentally and emotionally throughout the whole journey, being very compassionate and loving towards ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that you, me, people in the program, people in the community sometimes forget to do. Right? When we get really tripped up on something, where we lose ourselves in the fears, in thoughts, in emotions, we judge ourselves because we had a bad day, an off day. We now think, okay, nothing is moving forward any longer. You've
Yeah.
said previously that sometimes people message you and they see no movement in their manifestation journey, and they think they're doing something wrong. So to come back to the self, as you just mentioned, to be in calmness again, to be self-aware again. And we can also maybe ask you, V, what helped you, if you remember specific things that helped you to develop a more stable mental health. But for me, it was definitely to increase my level of self-awareness, to detach from my fears, to let them come close, to dissolve them, to not judge myself. Like all the things that you mentioned previously are super important on the manifesting journey, because I would say this journey, I don't want to say ups and downs, as you know, we talk more about peaks and valleys, but it is not that once you discover those teachings, I would say that from there on, instantly everything is like rainbows. Like there is still emotions that are coming up within us. There is still seemingly like challenging circumstances first, but because we have those teachings in place right now, those I don't want to call it tools, but we have those deeper understandings, those spiritual outlook on life. We know that it's actually not an obstacle. We know that we can, that this emotion is not bad, that we can let it come close. Yeah. Do you have anything that you would like to add on this?
Yes, definitely yes.
Yeah, please.
Well, first it's kind of like the experience I had when I joined your program, honestly. Because I was coming from like um a really really anxious spot. That's why I'm also telling everyone, like, let's be considerate and compassionate with us if we're there. There's nothing wrong to feel like that, high level anxiety and all of that, because many of us are going through the same thing, so it's important to be compassionate. But also, I didn't know how to deal with that kind of thing, right? Like I knew I wanted to manifest. I knew I wanted to change my life. I knew I wanted to, reach my goals and everything. But I had this enormous amount of anxiety. And I was like, what do I even do with this? How do I even, process this? I don't know. Like I had a lot of understanding about like psychology, for example, but it's still like certain things were still just not doing it for me, and I just still felt like this overwhelming sense of anxiety. So what really helped me was, like you said, like awareness. But it's not just like oh, so now I'm aware and my problems are over. It's more
Mm.
like if you actually you know, sit and understand what it's about, coming from a loving perspective, like uh being aware of everything, the world, those around you, who you are, like everything, being aware of just your emotions, that their sensations, being aware of like, well, this emotion wasn't here yesterday, it's here now. And to notice like if this emotion is just passing by, it's not who I essentially am. And sometimes, like I was saying, we can feel that's who we are because we have like this persistent anxiety, for example, or persistent depression, and we feel like, well, this is me, isn't it? And I'm kind of like stuck with this, but not really. That's not who you are. It's something you're experiencing, but who you essentially are is, you are awareness. But what that means is just, it's a little more than like, yeah, I'm aware, like, it's just like realizing you are actually this being of love. um that's what you have internally, really. Like
Yes.
connecting with that kind of thing is very what's the word, very healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
when you dig deep inside yourself and you actually find out that you are a loving being, well, like, isn't that healing? Like, you know what I mean? Because finding out that really that's what you have inside of yourself is like I feel it's a beautiful thing, it's a healing thing. And then finding out that, these emotions that come and go, these negative, quote unquote negative things sometimes, they're just, we're just experiencing them sometimes, but they're not here to stay, especially if we don't choose for them to stay, in a way, right? And of
Yep.
course, it's a process. This is not like you're gonna wake up tomorrow and the world's better, or maybe, right? You never know. But I feel, yes, like when you like tap into that, your true nature and everything, the world becomes better, really. Like, everything just kind of flows from there in that instant. And then it is more about like, okay, I'm observing the experiences of life versus letting the experiences of life take control of me. That's a
Yes.
very different thing. So
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
would be my thing, my take on that.
Yeah, perfect. No, it's perfect. And you're right. I noticed that too. Once, of course, you change within, but this was not really much about changing within. This was about to recognize it through nature, this beingness, this awareness, this true self. Many different names for it, but just the more peaceful you become, the more aware and stable and internally harmonious you become. Also, life, like you said, you experience it as being more harmonious. There are no so much, not so much, like there's not so much density any longer. It just is more flowing. And in our previous conversation before we started the interview, we also talked about this topic of facing fears, which you said to me at one point really helped you, and that was something in the program that really helped you. Would you like to just quickly touch base on that again? If like what exactly it was, if you can recall it, that helped you, if it was just me telling you you have to face your fears and let them come close, or is there something that you can mention on facing fears? And was it the first time that you heard this approach in the program? Have you heard it before already somewhere, but didn't know how to utilize it? Or what about facing fears for you?
Yes, again, a lot of things I can talk about this. I can talk about these things forever, honestly. But okay, first of all, is that yes, I kind of had already obviously heard about the
Hmm.
approach of facing a fear, and in psychology they talk about exposure. Like you're scared of spiders, well, go into a room full of spiders, like, and face that fear, right? Like see that the spider is not going to kill you, like that kind of thing. But I didn't know how to actually kind of do that same approach mentally, right? Like we have, because it's different to be scared of a spider because it's like something you can see and it's here, and it's so different when you're scared of about concepts, right? Like different concepts, because like for example, yes, you can have anxiety about things like a spider, right? But you like, a lot of us also have anxieties about social interactions or people, or the way we're treated, or self-esteem, that kind of thing, right? It's more complicated in a sense.
Hmm.
So we're left with like, how am I supposed to dive in there? Because also I this has never been the case for me. Like for example, I used to get like a lot of advice, like saying like, oh, you're scared of doing such thing, just go out there and just do this thing. And then, oh, you don't want to go to that party, like just go, just face it. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like you want to kill me, like, I'm gonna go there and be actually worse because it's not working for me, right? Like that's not an approach I can have,
Yeah.
because it's a little more complex than just a spider. I like spiders, by the way, but that's a random fact. So but when I, again, I came into the program and I saw, how to deal with fears, and I really resonated with all of that because, first of all, coming from a place like what I mentioned before of observing your emotions, or observing that you are not those emotions, you are not the fear, you are not the anxiety, you are not these like triggering social concepts, you are not
Hmm.
those things. Well, from just that, it was very relieving for me, right? Like, oh, I am not these things. Okay, I can kind of drop them, right?
Hmm.
What I couldn't drop still was kind of like the trigger, because like for example, when somebody has a trigger, like it doesn't feel great, like your body tenses up, you get all these body sensations, and yes, being aware of all of that, like it kind of starts helping you, but also there's like another element that is missing, that is just like going directly towards facing that kind of thing. And in your program you cover a lot about like how it's similar to facing like a monster under the bed, and you just look under the bed, and if there's a monster there, you're like, hey, I want to talk to you, and just like get to know you
Get to know
instead
you
of
better.
Yeah, get to know you better. Let's have some tea, let's talk about it. Tell me about your problems. But and it's more coming from like that, versus just like having something that is just gonna treat the symptoms in a way, right?
Yeah.
And because then I applied it for myself, because for example, I was seen, for example, and for me it was big for social media. um like I used to have a lot of triggers with social media, and I think many people will relate to that. And so I just had completely like stopped social media, right? Like I just completely avoided it. And yes, that's a good thing, right? Because you don't want to be like overexposing yourself every day to those things that trigger you.
Hmm.
But I felt it was kind of like I was a little bit lying to myself in a sense, because I knew that still within me, I was still triggered about social media. It's like still within me, I was still watching social media and feeling triggered about it. Like I didn't have to be doing that like in the 3D, in my feelings and in my like what I was feeling and imagining in that moment. I was still like going through these triggers, even if I wasn't like experiencing them. So because I thought there was one call we had with you, I remember, and I asked you like, is it enough to just like avoid the circumstances? And you said like no, because like if you are just avoiding but you're still triggered, then you're still triggered,
Yeah,
right? And you're
there's
just
basically
avoiding.
still an undesired state alive within yourself that will
Exactly.
be, triggered again at another circumstance, but you avoided this one, but there's still something alive within yourself that you don't like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I noticed like, right, it like didn't stop. Like like it just like maybe I'm hiding from this thing, but I see a same version of the same thing in another place, and it just kind of like pops up. It's kind of like a I don't know, when the water is boiling, just like it just starts bubbling up everywhere. So I decided to just like go in there, and like I had already been practicing like being aware a lot, and I just decided like, now I can do this. This is why I also say that it's great to have a relationship with yourself, like believing in yourself, even if you have a lot of anxiety or whatever, depression, it doesn't matter. Like you can believe in yourself, and you can go and be brave and just like go in there, and all within reason, right? But you can actually just go in there and face these fears, because I noticed that when I did, of course, I was triggered in that moment, but I decided to just stay with it. I stayed with myself, if that makes sense. I was like, okay, we're gonna go through like a earthquake right now, but I'm gonna stay with you being me, myself. Like I'm going to stay there with you, with these emotions. We're gonna observe them. And when I went inside these big triggers that I have with that I had with that like kind of mindset or like that decision in mind,
Hmm.
what happened is that everything dissolved. And I was
Yeah.
completely like blown away by that, because I was like, I can't believe this. Like, but I think what happened that day was that I proved to myself that I can like prove to myself that I am not these fears, right? I am not that, and I can be here for myself, stay with myself, observe myself, observe everything that I have to give, like, and see it from, you know, awareness, and just like being there present. And then what happened, like I tell you guys, it's everything just kind of dissolved. And it doesn't mean I didn't still have like other triggers and here and there, right? But ever since that happened, that was like a huge transformational moment for me, because from there my life was never the same, for real. Like I felt like I accomplished something big, right? And to me that's um a very beautiful thing to show yourself, like you're gonna be there for yourself and prove to yourself that you can face those scary things inside of you, and that you will be perfectly fine. So
Yeah.
that will be something that is very important for anyone to apply if they like to, obviously. But yes, that would be my take on fears.
Totally perfect. Yep. Super interesting. And I resonate with that very deeply. I'm just looking at the notes that I took. Now, you talked about fears, you talked about triggers. One thing that I would like to add from my perspective. So everything you said about the fears, it's absolutely my point of view, of course, too. We also talk about that in the program, is that we should not run from it, but face it, let it come close, dissolve it in the light of awareness, see that we are not the fear. It is a cluster of maybe sensations, maybe thoughts, beliefs, but the more we go into it, the more we see, okay, this is not belonging to me. It's just appearing right now, but I can let it go and will pass by like a cloud. So this was amazing that you talked about this again. And also the trigger part I really like, because again, we all know it, right? People say, oh, I don't look at my bank account because I maybe would get triggered. But if you try to avoid triggers, then again, you still have certain, you're still in certain states in your inner world that are still alive that will still continue to manifest, even if you try to avoid external triggers. So don't run away from them. Like V said, let them come close, right? Look towards them, see what are your triggers, and then see what is it indicating. So if you want to avoid your bank balance, then maybe that is because you are not in the state of financial abundance. Because if you are, you can just look at your bank balance and it doesn't really matter to you, because you know that your financial abundance is coming still from your internal state. And then you never have to avoid triggers or be feared of them. They're just an indication on where you stand within at this moment. That was a long talk from me anyways. Let us also talk about this topic of self-worth, please, because you mentioned that earlier, where you said that a lot of people that you observe, like the community out there, also people in the program, is that people sometimes come from lack and they say, okay, I need this manifestation to be complete, to be happy, to finally say, okay, I got it. Now I can back to my normal way of living life. I just used imagination and those fancy teachings as a tool. I got my desire, and now it's back to living life normally. And yeah, what do you have to say about this whole topic of self-worth and coming from, abundance instead of coming from lack when we manifest? What's on your mind?
So, well, there are many things in my mind, as I've said like for the third time. But well, we when we start off this manifesting thing, and it's something I say a lot, it is normal for us to think that this whole thing works like our present society. Like we think we need to do this to be that. It's, in essence, basically that's it, right? Like our present society tells us like, oh, you want a job? Well, you need to go to school, and you need to, you need this. Oh, you want a car? Well, you need money. Oh, you want an apartment? Oh, you need more money. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're used to it because that's kind of how society works. It's not always a terrible thing, right? But we're used to that. That's, we're used to that little process. But manifesting is not the same way, because for starters, it's about, like I said from the beginning, it's about our relationship with ourselves, because no one or nothing to change but self. So the relationship you have to yourself is very important to, to these whole practices, right? And it's even like I'm not sure how this is going to sound, but it's like more important than the practice itself. Like obviously,
very true.
The yourself will always be more important than the perfect technique or something like that, right? So when there's a lot of things here that can be said, like, for example, we think we want to get something because when we get that something, then we will be happy. Like, we condition ourselves. We say, well, until I have this thing, I will be able to be happy. I will be able to be free. But what is that telling us? Like deep down, we're kind of saying like, well, you can't be happy unless you have this. That's kind of like we're saying deep down, like you can't be this until this. You can't be that until this. Like, no, we deserve things right now. We are worthy of things right now. So that, like, in regards to like self-worth, like waking up to that fact, remembering that fact basically, because we've never not been worthy, we've never not been undeserving, right?
Yeah.
Waking up to that fact again, like remembering that we've always been worthy of things, um is of course very freeing, because it's not about, getting something to be something. You already can have these things, you already deserve these things. um so, when we come from a perspective like that, obviously everything becomes easier, because you can access the happiness within at any moment, because you have it. You already have these things within you.
Yeah.
It's not about like that you need them because you don't have them. No, you have them right now. You have everything right now, whether you believe it or not. I know that it's sometimes like we don't believe this, like we say like, no, my life is shit, like, you know what I mean? But and I know, of course that can be tough, like it happens to me sometimes, of course, like not saying that, but always like stressing again about the relationship we have to ourselves, like our self-worth, self-love. And I know that's like the thing nowadays, right? Like saying self-love and everything, but really understanding what that means is like is very freeing, because for, like I was saying, um realizing, waking up to the fact that you are worthy right now of all those beautiful desires you want. And not only that, you don't even need those things to be happy. You already, already can tap into your internal happiness right now, because you already have these things within you. You already are worthy of everything. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a little thing I would say about that.
It's perfect. Yeah. What I would like to add is simply everything is totally the way I see it. And I would like to add, maybe for some people that right now heard this and they heard, okay, yeah, okay, happiness is within me. Okay, yeah, I don't need it to be happy. Okay, I get this, but okay, everything is within me. Maybe we could also translate that happiness within you, that also it's this inner abundance, right? It's all, abundance, wholeness, worthiness, happiness, peace. For me, at the end, it comes down to not a state, but more like Vitra said, that's the nature of this true self. That's the nature of this I am. That's the nature of who you are beyond this person and an ego identity, which is totally fine. We all have it. That's how to experience this world. But there's a deeper part of you that is already perfectly happy. That is happiness itself. That is abundance and worthiness and wholeness itself. And when connecting to that part, like V said, which is what we do also in the beginning of the program, as you remember, V, then you manifest from wholeness, from I want this simply because I want to express this, and I want to share my happiness. I want to just express this abundance, and I know it's already within me. This state, every state is already within you. Instead of chasing it, seeking it, needing it, wanting it, because you think it will add something to you. Actually, it can't. Like, of course, it's nice to manifest. That's what this whole channel is also about. But when you come into those teachings, you then realize that again, what you manifest is already within you, is already within creation, is already within your awareness, your beingness, and you can tap into it and then it expresses. And when you really, really get this, like now you listen to us, now you kind of agree with us and you say, okay, that sounds cool. But if you spend some time and you immerse yourself a little bit in those teachings, because you take it serious, because you take yourself serious and your self-worth, and you want to be peaceful and you want to have a high level of well-being, then you will also come to a point where you see, wow, I am whole, I am abundant, it is all there. Then we sometimes forget, like we also said, that happens, that's okay. And then we come back to the teachings. But again, what happens then is that you don't need to, give your ego something to feel more worthy. Like it's not that you need to buy that watch and then you say, oh, now I have this watch. Now I'm really worthy. No, you know that your self-worth, that's natural. It's natural to be worthy of everything you want because you deserve everything. Everything is already there, is within you. And then you manifest from this way more whole, abundant, stable point of view, which is, of course, more natural and more easy, as probably V, you would agree. Or what do you say about this?
Yes, of course, I would agree on that. Um, Actually, I was right now when you were talking, I was remembering that a long time ago when I found your channel, I saw another interview you had with, I think it was Aguinaldo, I think is his name.
Aguinaldo, yes,
Yeah.
Aguinaldo, yes, exactly.
Yes, okay. And that he also he manifested in NSP and everything. And I remember that one thing that really stuck out to me in from that interview is that he said like, yes, I feel like because I think you asked him something like, how do you feel now that you manifested the SP, right? And he said like, I feel peace or I feel good and everything. But honestly, nothing can take away from this peace that I feel within. And like talking about like himself, like the peace he feels from within himself. And when I first heard it, I was like, what? Like, what is this witchcraft? Like, what is this he's speaking of? Like, what do you mean you're peaceful within? You got the SP. What are you talking about? Like, I was like so confused in that time. Like, and I was like, okay, I know I want that, but what is this? Like, really? And then of course I went through my little journey in the program and everything. And then I figured it out for myself. Like I was like, okay, now I understand what he was talking about, because when you realize you have these things within you, then you realize why he said nothing is comparable to this peace, right?
Yeah.
Because there's also something I really want to add real quick, is that remember, guys, everyone out there, that sometimes we can feel like I feel that when we learn about these things and everything, and like we know, right? Everybody wants to be their best self. Like we know that we need to feel confident. We know that love is within. Like we know this, and we get frustrated because we get triggered still, and we feel like, "Ah, am I ever going to change? Like this is so hard, and look, this other person is doing this, and look at this success story, and like why can't I have that?" And it becomes kind of like a thing that kind of makes us feel bad in a certain sense, like why am I not having that success and everything? And I just want everyone to know that, first of all, that is totally okay to feel, because we all go through that. Like I can tell you guys myself, definitely I went through that. I still kind of go through that on like sometimes, right? Like those valley experiences, definitely. But you will get there, because I feel that as long as you know, right, like you want to you want to change yourself, and that's good enough, right? Like you're good enough as you are right now. Like I keep saying, like you're worthy right now, you're good enough right now. Like, and you will get there, you will get there because you can, right? And like you can, there's nothing like, after all, these things are already within you. Like you don't even have to try that much. It's just more, it's not about getting things, it's not about trying, it's just more about realizing. It's more about realizing, waking up, that kind of words, because it's waking up to the fact that you already have these things inside of you. Like you're missing nothing, you're already good enough right now. So if anybody is going through that and like hearing this kind of talk and like being frustrated, like I'm still in this like ocean of triggers and they just won't leave me alone, well, remember, it's important to acknowledge that with compassion, like compassion with yourself where you are right now. And don't worry, because even so you're not missing anything, you will like feel this as well, because you can feel it right now if you desire to. Things are with you within, and you're already good enough within, right? So that's another thing I wanted to add.
Yeah, perfect. I like that. I like that. It's very true. Now, I think you made a good point. So you said again, and now everything is within us, and that we can bring it forth, that we can therefore manifest it. And of course, since we talk about Neville's teachings and the law of assumption here, there are many different techniques, tools, methods out there that you also know, V, and you experienced a lot of them. I'm sure you tried and played with a lot of them. Now, I wanted to ask you, first of all, is there one that really resonated with you? And I know that this, like you said, this is super subjective. I mean, you could say right now, okay, it's this one, and then for another person, it could be a totally other one, right? Guys, this is really important. I share things that, I applied, and then we share things that she applied. But at the end, it is not the techniques. I also have a video on the channel called "It's Not the Techniques, It's You." It's you are the upper power. You can just intend it. You can just decide it. And that's also, if you call it a technique. But the question is still, what do you think about techniques? Do you have a favorite techniques? Is there something that you apply naturally in your life right now? How does that look for you? Like, how do you shift states? Maybe put it like that.
Okay. Well, yes, like connecting to what you said, of course, we know that it's not really about techniques. It's about, who we are within. But, techniques, the reason they're there is because they help us, right? They help us
Yeah.
like identify with the things we wanna, we want to feel or we want to be. So for me, and also very important that you also mentioned, like also very different for each individual person, because for me, I'm more of a creative person. I'm actually an artist, so for me, obviously visualizing is going to be a thing,
Mhm.
because obviously I like to visualize. I've always, since I've been really young, like loved to like just imagine, like for fun. I love to imagine things. I love to imagine for fun. I sometimes like put on even like music and just imagine. But of course, I also like make scenes, like a small scene. Like, and I just visualize, or sometimes I just hear someone saying something. Like, for example, um I usually try to include in the scene like somebody who's really close to me. Like, for example, I have my sister, and she's in a lot of my scenes because I hear her voice every day. So it's like very familiar to me. So when I do a scene with her, it's like automatically like feels really real because I'm so used to her. Like my sister and I, we have the kind of relationship where it's like she comes through the door and I already know what mood she's in, so I know some of you out there will relate to this. So, perfect kind of feeling it real kind of situation, because I already know the tone of her voice or what her facial expressions are. So I kind of use that kind of thing for, imagining,
Mhm.
visualizing, and audio. And sometimes I even throw I remember when in there. It's just like I
Mhm.
I do it more from like it comes more naturally to me, you know what I mean? Like it's just more like I think about something and I'm like, oh, I remember when I felt like this and now I feel good and I feel great. Like it comes more like I give myself like that opportunity to, reminisce on, yeah, it used to be like this, but look how it is now. Like, and it can even be for small things, right? Like, oh, I used to be a person who didn't do their laundry all the time, and now I can. Like, it can be whatever. Because acknowledge yourself whenever. But yeah, that kind of thing.
Mhm. Mhm. Cool. Yeah, totally got it. Nice. Sounds good. I I wanted to also ask you, now that you immerse yourself like for more than a year in those teachings, you achieved amazing successes, you applied consciously to a big degree. All of those things, I wanted to ask you, how does your life feel like right now? Like, would you say, because I have some people, why I'm asking this is why I think this topic is interesting, because I know some people, and I had this phase too. I got into those teachings, and at some point it felt so overwhelming. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go next, what to do next. That I said, my life feels even more worse right now that I got into manifesting, into spirituality, into understanding how certain things work than previously when I just lived asleep my normal day-to-day life. How do you feel right now? Like what are your insights that you can share on the topics of feeling peaceful, feeling calm? It's easy to shift. Are there also downsides that you still encounter? How does your life look like right now after encountering the program and also those teachings in general?
Well, my life is definitely different. And in order to explain how different my life is now, I have to explain a little bit of how my life used to be. So it's kind of
Yes.
like to get you guys into perspective. Um, like my life before, I already mentioned that like I've been a really anxious person. I'm honestly like a little bunny, like just like you hold it and it's really nervous, like that kind of vibe. So I've been pretty anxious. And then of course, last year I went through like some really traumatic reactions for me that, just left me in a pretty bad state, and mental state as well, obviously, because it was just like really bad. So imagine that kind of trauma reaction with anxiety, and then I got into, the whole manifesting thing. And you know how it kind of feels now that I think about it. I don't know if anyone has had the experience, like you go into a club and there's all these people and there's all these lights and the DJ is like just like turning up the volume on the music and the lights are getting crazy and the volume is getting crazy and you just kind of feel crazy in that moment. That's kind of how it felt to me,
Yeah.
being in all these like teachings and not knowing where to go. And I just noticed like more and more videos and more techniques and more things, and I'm just like, okay, I'm crazy. So
now
um
I'm officially crazy.
yeah, now you are officially crazy. Congratulations. So, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, right. And like that was kind of my life. And also, socially I was kind of like isolating because mostly because I was already like, already dealing with a lot in my mind. So the last thing I wanted to do was just like put this extra burden on myself of, socializing, and who knows what would have happened and if I was socializing in that kind of state, right? Like, but then of course after that, like I told you guys, came into the program, face those fears, be aware, um learn to process my emotions, learn what emotions are really, because I thought I already knew, and then I kind of like revisited the subject again, and I was like, I don't think I've been seeing this like in the best way. So, learning about that as well. And obviously, like I shared, like ever since I faced those big fears, and like awareness really helped me with the traumatic reactions kind of thing. That was actually my first success in the group. I was pretty happy about it because I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, the self-awareness meditations helped me. So I
Mhm.
was pretty happy because it was kind of like a little miracle for me, to be honest. Um, so after that, of course, uh, because all these things started happening, because remember, I changed myself, right? I changed, I proved to myself that I can be brave, that I can face these fears. I told myself like, I'm literally here for you. So of course that started getting reflected in my world. I started manifesting friends. That's like a big thing for me because
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
I've always had friends, of course, but like I something I really like is to make new friends. Like in the program, I love to reach out to everyone, like too many actually, then I can't keep up, but like I love to reach out, and I feel I've made a lot of cool friends now, like from all over the world. That has been like amazing experience for me. And my life started to change, maybe even, well, I want to say slowly, because now that I think about it, it wasn't that slow. But me as a person, I like my work life started changing, right? I had different opportunities at work. I had different ways to like show up in my life. Really, I went like from, you know, not being so, what's the word, like participative, is that even a word? I don't know, but like, you know, not participating too much in like my own life, to being like more confident, more independent. And these things just kind of came to me, right? Like it's not like I decided like, well, today I'm going to be confident and I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to do confident things. Like it wasn't like that. It was more like things started, you know, opportunities started showing up, and then I was more confident, right? And the anxiety started going down. I noticed like things that used to trigger me so much, then suddenly they weren't triggering me as much, and then some of them not at all. You know, that started changing for me as well. And, you know, nowadays, like, yes, I still go through things, right? Like, I still have off days. I think that's kind of like a, you know, normal part of life and everything. But I still, like, I wake up and I feel I'm not triggered anymore, you know, because it used to be, I used to be a person that was triggered every hour, to be honest. And sometimes, I don't know, I want to be like the most honest, but I really think that I was triggered like every, like I don't know, every 20 minutes or more. It just felt like even less, maybe. I was triggered every minute. Like I was just kind of living that kind of, like, it was even normal for me to be triggered all the time. Like, and it was,
You are a living trigger.
I was a living trigger, basically, yes. Because it's just like, you know, I was triggered all the time. And obviously that feels horrible, because at the end of the day, I remember I felt so exhausted, so mentally exhausted, like my body, like, you know, everything. I just felt really nervous. I felt bad about myself. Like my inner dialogue was not that great. And now I look back and I think like, how was I living like that? And of course I remember, right? I acknowledge that. But it's like so different, because right now I feel like, yeah, I have off days, but that's it, right? I just have off days. I don't have like all these intense things that were like exhausting me on a daily basis, and I just couldn't basically live life,
Yeah.
because it was just like so like bogging me down, kind of thing. So, you know, if anyone is out there that they're dealing with this, then trust me, there's a way to
Mhm.
experience a
Mhm.
life without these things. I can tell you, because I've been there, and it's horrible, but you definitely can change your life, because that's what I, you know, that's the biggest manifestation I ever did, like in my life so far, right? Like in the program and everything. That's how it helped me. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Right. Right. It's just like I hope that there's at least one person listening to this right now that really sees the value in what we actually just shared, because I think it's really powerful. I mean, you know, usually we know success stories. Oh, I manifested an SP. I manifested, and I'm not right now saying this to downplay any of those manifestations. They are all also really amazing, right? The SP, the car, the house, the friends, the new lifestyle, the money, the business success. Beautiful, great manifestations, amazing. But also those things that seem very subtle for us, such as being, you know, trigger free, being mentally healthy, being mentally more stable, being more calm, more being less fearful, less anxious. I mean, that's something that, you know, benefits you for the rest of your life, no matter what are the next like objects, things that you will manifest. So I just love that. I love that you brought this up, and I remember when you posted that was really nice successes of yours.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
I have two more topics, or like questions, just things that I would like to ask you, and then I think we had a really insightful conversation. Mm, the first thing has to do with the program, actually, because you mentioned a couple of times, so people know that okay, you've joined the program, and there's so many offers out there, and nothing is comparable. Everyone is offering their own thing. My question is just to you now: if there is someone listening to this, and they listen to this channel, they listen to 5 other channels, they or right now they have two goals and they're also a little bit fearful and they don't know where to start and what to actually apply. Would you recommend them to go into the program, like to schedule a call and see if they're a good fit, to reach out? Would you say that they should first get some foundational things right before they do it? Like, what would be? I loved your honesty since the first moment that we had the first conversation. But what would you tell someone that is not sure what to do right now? And that is also to do with the second thing, which is some final tips that you have for the audience. But just in regards to the program, like what would you say to someone? Can they expect that they get help? They join that? Should they first do other homework? Like what's your honest view on that?
Well, definitely go in, because if you go in, you can be my friend. We can connect.
Buy right now.
Yeah. Only for
No, but honestly,
99, please.
yeah.
Yes. Well, first, honestly, my honest advice for that would be, well, of course, think about, like, what you want to do for yourself, right? Of course, that's always important. We talked a lot about that. Respecting your own personal journey, your own, how do you feel, how do you really feel about things? Don't just do something because you think you have to. But of course, what I found, what I liked about your program is that, again, you respected like mental health. There's like so much in the program that, yes, there's the techniques and everything, and all of that, but also, there's the talk about awareness. This is like, connecting with something in a larger scale. That is also very good for, mental health, like connecting with something in a larger aspect. That is really good. And also, like I've mentioned many times, like the talk about emotions, what emotions are, how to deal with them, how to deal with your fears. Because when you really understand all that, you become brave, and that's like, a beautiful thing to have. So if you're like on the fence of the program, like for me, I remembered, like, I knew I wanted to, I had never been in a program or a coach or anything really. I was in this like psychology thing, but it was kind of not like the same thing. So I'm very particular about where I join, right? I usually investigate a lot before I invest in something, and I did that for this as well. And what was really important for me, like I said, was the component of mental health. And also, if I saw like the added value, and for me, of course, there's like a lot of added value here, because not only do you have access to these kinds of teachings, right, in like a deeper scale, because I know you have like a lot of great videos on YouTube already, but I consider that the things inside there are like deeper. But also, to me, a big added value was the calls, the calls we can have with you, like connecting, asking those questions is, of course, a very big important part, because like you can, ask those burning questions of yours that like are keeping you up at night, and just like ask them and be in this like quiet, safe, non-judgmental space to ask questions. And also, of course, the community in itself was a very healing thing for me.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling, because a big part that I have heard many people say as well, is that a big part of this is that it can be kind of lonely, because these like not in the sense, like, I don't want to like say that it's lonely if you're learning about manifesting. It's just like so when we learn about this, since this is not like you know when we have friends or family that are not into these teachings as well, and we start saying like, yes, the inner imagination will manifest right now, they're gonna be like, what? Like, usually like many people have had that experience, that people like maybe friends or family like they just don't get it, and that is fine, by the way. That is totally fine. Not everyone has to, you know, agree with what we're doing, because again, it is about ourselves, what is important to us. However, it doesn't mean that you still don't want to connect with other people who share the same views, right? And
Exactly.
that's why I think the community is great, because there's like I said, non-judgmental, really. Everybody's really supportive. You can make friends in there, like me. Hello, reach out, bye. So, you know, and other people as well. There's other great people, you know, you can post your questions in there. It kind of feels like a home. So, you know, there's so many great things that come out of like having a supportive community. And I see that's kind of like a big part of the added value upon joining the program. So that's what I would
Nice.
say.
That was that was a good advertisement. That was a good advertisement for the
Yeah,
program.
by now.
Really good. No, but no, thanks honestly for the insights. I do agree. I mean, if I would have had something like that, I mean, I would be like, cool, that's it.
Sign me
It's
up,
like
like.
I had the problem when I started. There were coaches, there were courses. I just wanted to put everything in one place where I see, okay, if I need coaching, I jump on the call. If I need teachings and I need reminders and I need, I don't know, some worksheets or this and that, I go in the online academy. If I want to connect with someone or ask a question and have answers from experienced people, and like-minded people, then I post it there. So I wanted to have this place, and V really good pointed this out that you have like several components, and you can decide what you want to use. So now this now became more like an advertisement. I actually didn't want it to do it like that, but one funny thing, V, that I noticed is that some people, when they do the free call with me, so that we can figure out if we are a good fit, if everything matches. Some people tell me that they reached out to some members of the program to find out if the program is actually like real, or if I'm a scam, or if this is actually a real thing that adds value. What would you say to such a person that is listening to us right now? Because trust me, people will still, of course, listen until this point, and there may be people that are on the fence, that are not sure if they should be like, okay, let me go all in. I'm serious. I want to do it. I want to dedicate a little bit of time to it, but I'm not sure if I could still get something out of it because there is so much on YouTube. What would you, in a conclusion way, say to such a person?
Well, Ron is a scam. No, just kidding. Okay, no. First of all, I just want to tell you guys, let you guys know that I'm honestly really speaking from my personal experience with
Yes.
the
Yeah.
program. Like, it's like when you see YouTubers saying like this is a sponsored video and this isn't a sponsored video, it's just my opinion. Well, this is kind of like that. This is really just my opinion. It's really been just like my experience with the program, because this is literally what happened. So, but of course, I mean, I respect anyone who, honestly, it's a process that everyone should do, right? Like, not just like, oh, I'm gonna buy this program because I heard about it and I'm gonna invest in it, and okay, end of story, right? Like, no, it's great to ask questions, honestly. Like,
Hmm.
ask the questions until you feel like, you know, content with where you're
Yeah.
getting, because that's all also like a great way to start, like with the like best foot forward. You know what I mean? Like, you feel good about the decision you're taking, great,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
um but yeah, definitely, like, you know, your YouTube has a lot of content, so if you resonate with that kind of content, that's kind of the content you're gonna see in there.
Hmm.
And again, remembering that, like, for me as well, like I tell you guys, the added value is, like, you know, um the community and like the calls, and at least that's what it has been for me. I'm only
True.
talking about basically my experience, um basically, you know. But of course, if you resonate with it, definitely go. I don't think you will regret it, because there's a lot of like value to be had. And also remember that there's a like, I let's say, a component to remember, and this is for like every coaching in the world. is that there is no magic pill out there. Like
Exactly.
there's no magical wand out there, as much as we would like to believe. It still comes down to how we're gonna like approach this ourselves, right? Because in my opinion, like the program is really good, has really great techniques and everything, but it also comes down to how you're going to use these things, right, for your life. Do you want to change your life? Then yes, this will help you, of course. But this, like, you know, and of course another thing can help you as well if you feel more inclined, definitely so, because like I resonate with a lot of different people, right? Like
Sure.
so I understand definitely.
It's
Huh?
it's no, that the point that you make is really cool, because I do remember, I think this was last year, maybe even 2021, I made a video called "The Grass Isn't Greener on the Other Side," where I also
Yeah.
said that people should go with what they feel resonates with them. Like, you know, there can be someone that proposes this and guarantees this and this and this, but be honest with yourself. Like who resonates with you, who feels like sharing stuff that you also align with and that feels good to you, and you want to go deeper into that direction, then pick that. And if it's me, it's me. If it's someone else, it's someone else. Like V just said, go with someone that resonates with you. This could be one option. This is one opportunity, but there are also other opportunities. And if they resonate more with you, then that's good. And they get you also great results. Like that's my view on that.
Yeah, I remember that video actually that you mentioned helped me a lot, because at the time when I found your YouTube channel, I was watching like what, six other YouTubers, and it was just like different perspectives from everyone where they were coming from, and I was just like really overwhelmed, right? And after I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stick to this one thing and apply it, you know, give myself the best what's the word, like the best opportunity to succeed, right? Like just okay, let's stick to one thing, let's not overwhelm myself, and like let's go with this. But yeah, like, you know, it can be whomever you resonate with, but if you choose to be here, well, then welcome, and hello, I will be there as well, so so you know.
It doesn't choose whoever resonates with you, but at the end, just join this program.
Yeah,
just
just whatever. But you know, at the end, just buy this and get in there. Just like, you know.
one one final thing I think that will be the perfect roundup of this amazing conversation is, maybe now people listening to us, people heard amazing insights on all of these great topics that we brought to the surface. Now, do you have, in one or three, okay, sentences maybe a little bit too less, but do you have like just some very quick, practical, helpful, maybe tips if they spontaneously come to your mind? If not, because I know we talked a lot, and we talked about a lot of stuff I would also understand, but are there any final tips that you would give to someone that is now listening to this, that is a little bit newer to those teachings? They start to get into this journey, on what they could do right now, to not meaning program stuff, coaching stuff. I mean what they can do for themselves. Like any tip that you would give such a person that is now also on the verge of yeah, like manifesting their desires, being more peacefully, being more mentally stable, something that spontaneously is coming to your mind that you would give such a person.
Okay. Right now, like so many thoughts are coming to my mind. It's like that scene in SpongeBob when he's looking for the files in his brain and they can't find it, and they're like, "Oh, what should I
Yeah, they're all
say?"
running around searching
Yeah,
some
they're all
file.
running around. That's my mind right now. Like, okay, what should I say? Okay, so I think one thing I will say, the final thing I would say is that um remember that what's that quote by Einstein? You can't solve the
You
problem
can't
at the
solve a
same.
problem, yeah, from the state that created it, or like at the same level of that
uh
created the problem.
yeah, exactly. Okay, that is very important, because sometimes we can get really caught up on the I have to solve this issue before I can do whatever, right? It that's a little more of a tricky one, because like I talked about before, like sometimes we condition ourselves, right? We feel we are gonna be happy only until we get that car. We gonna be happy only until we get that apartment or that SP or whatever. But also there's like a trickier side of it that we feel we need to solve XYZ problem, and then it's going to be fine. And we say like, well, we need to solve right now this trigger, or we need to solve this problem, or my SP can't get here until I am completely healed, like until my self-concept is like through the roof, until I have this, like, so we say this, but remember that it is more like there's least resistance, lesser resistance in going towards the things you love versus trying to solve the things you fear. Because, what you like, if somebody asks you the things you love, and then they ask you about your problems or the things you fear, you're going to give very different responses to each of them, right? So think about like going towards the things that you love, because after all, in the end, that's the thing that will get expressed, right? Instead of like, I don't mean disregarding, that's like a different kind of thing, but like you can acknowledge your problems and your fears, but remember that trying to solve a fear, a problem, uh may keep you in the same state
Yes.
as
Yes.
like the same state that caused the problem, and you're kind of gonna be in circles, and you're gonna be like, why is this not changing, why is this not changing? Well, because you can acknowledge this for sure, like, okay, I see you, I see I have this fear, I see I have this thing, but now I decide to go in the direction of love, in the direction of being someone different, because I choose this. I choose what I want to become, because whether we are like manifesting that thing we so want, or fearing that certain thing manifests, it's still something we're gonna become. Like, it's still something we're gonna assign to our I am such and such. So the common denominator here is our I am, right?
Yeah.
What we're gonna kind of assign to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So remember to assign those things to yourself that are those things you love, the things you love to feel, the things you love to be. And that would be my final advice for that.
It's a great final advice. It's really nice. Perfect. Great. I'm happy we did it. So
Yeah.
V, first of all, yeah, I'm I'm amazed by this great interview that we had. So hopefully you enjoyed it too. Thank you for coming on. And with that, guys, we would conclude the interview. If you liked it, then definitely let us know in the comments down below if you liked it, which parts you enjoyed most, which topics you resonate with, which topics you have questions on. If you want a second part, then also let me know in the comments. We will definitely read those comments. I'm sure V will also, if when the interview is online, we'll go through
Yeah.
the comments and maybe even reply. Let's see. But thanks for listening until this point. Check out the links in the video description, and I speak to you in the next video. Bye, guys, and thanks, V.